It was a rainy evening. The wind howled through the empty streets. Raindrops tapped against my window like urgent fingers. I sat on the edge of my sofa, listening to the storm. The lights flickered once and then stabilized. A sudden knock came at my door. Sharp and deliberate. I frowned, glancing at the clock. It was 11:30 at night. No one ever came at this hour. I stood slowly and walked toward the door. My hand trembled slightly as I reached for the handle. Another knock, louder this time. I hesitated. I opened the door. A man stood there, tall, wearing a soaked trench coat. Water dripped from his shoulders onto my floor. His eyes were wide, staring directly at me. A strange familiarity tugged at my mind. I took a cautious step back. The man smiled faintly. "You will not believe this," he said. His voice sounded hauntingly familiar. I froze, trying to place it. And then it hit me. The face, the voice, the exact presence. It was Mr. Thompson from the next street. The man who had died last week. My heart stopped. I blinked, convinced my mind was playing tricks. I could see the rain dripping off his nose. His eyes locked onto mine. "You do not understand," he whispered. I had to come back. The words sounded impossible. I wanted to step back, slam the door, call for help. But my legs refused to move. The air around him grew colder. I could see my breath in front of me. A low hum filled the room. It felt like the walls were shrinking. I could hear the storm outside intensifying. The man took a step forward. The floor beneath us seemed to groan. "I have something to tell you," he said. His voice was calm, yet chilling. The dripping rain became louder in my ears. I swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed to run. But I could not. He raised his hand slowly. The fingers were pale and trembling. I noticed a small scar on his wrist. It matched the one I remembered perfectly. "You will see soon," he murmured. A cold breeze swept through the room, knocking over a vase. The shattering sound made me jump. My heart pounded. He smiled again, but it was hollow. "You will remember me," he said. I blinked. He vanished. The room was suddenly warm again. The storm outside had quieted. I was alone, yet something lingered. A faint scent of wet trench coat. A shadow where he had stood. My mind raced. Was it real, or had my grief conjured him? I sank to the floor. The rain continued outside, and the image of his staring eyes stayed with me. I sat on the floor, my back against the wall, trembling. The room felt heavy, as if the air itself had weight. The faint scent of rain and wet fabric lingered, clinging to my skin. I tried to convince myself it was a hallucination, a product of grief and exhaustion. But the shadow in the corner of the room did not disappear. It shifted, almost imperceptibly, as if it were breathing. A soft tapping began on the window pane. I turned slowly, my pulse racing. Outside, the street was empty, but the taps continued. 1, 2, 3, then a rapid series of soft raps. My stomach churned. I approached the window cautiously, my hand brushing against the cold glass. I could see my reflection, pale and wide-eyed, staring back at me. But there was something else, an outline behind me. I spun around. The room was empty, yet the chill remained, creeping along my spine. I thought about calling someone. I wanted to tell the police, to tell anyone that a dead man had knocked on my door. But my phone was dead. No signal, no light, just silence. Then I heard it, a whisper, almost inaudible. It came from the corner of the room where the shadow had shifted. "Do not turn your back," the voice said. I froze, my heart thundering. The words were unmistakable, the same hollow voice from before. My hand reached for the light switch. The bulb flickered and then blazed to life. The room was empty. I let out a shaky breath, but the relief was fleeting. Something moved behind the sofa. Slow, deliberate. A hand appeared, pale and trembling. I stumbled back, my mind screaming. The hand was followed by an arm, then a shoulder, then the face. Mr. Thompson stood there again. His eyes were darker, deeper, filled with something I could not name. Not anger, not sadness, but an unrelenting purpose. "You need to come with me," he said. I shook my head violently. "I cannot," I whispered. "Why are you here? You are dead." He smiled, but it was not friendly. It is not yet my time, he said. You were the last person I needed to warn. I could feel the air around me vibrating. The shadows in the corners of the room were stretching, creeping toward me. I stumbled back into the wall, my fingers scraping against the wallpaper. The room suddenly grew darker, the corners filled with smoky tendrils that moved like liquid. I could hear the hum again, low and insistent, vibrating through my chest. He stepped closer, his face only inches from mine. His eyes burned with an unnatural intensity. You ignored the signs, he said. I tried to reach you before, but it was too late then. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. Then he raised his hand again. Not toward me, but toward the floor. The wooden floorboards groaned and split. From the cracks, a cold mist began to rise. It filled the room, curling around my ankles and climbing my legs. I tried to step back, but the mist thickened, holding me in place. You will see, he whispered. And then, he pointed at me. The air in the room shifted violently. The walls seemed to warp. I could hear whispers, many voices overlapping, all saying my name. My vision blurred, then sharpened in a way that was unbearable. I could see things I was never meant to see. Faces in the mist, contorted and twisted, reaching for me. Hands grasping from nowhere, fingers long and skeletal. And among them, his face, the same calm, hollow expression. I fell to my knees, gasping for air that did not exist. The whispers became a chant, growing louder, drowning my thoughts. I am here to guide you, he said. Or to take you, if you resist. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the growing darkness. The mist rose higher, reaching my chest, my neck. I could feel it pressing against my skin, cold and suffocating. He stepped closer, and I could feel his presence inside my mind. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the room. The floor beneath me split open further. The mist surged toward the gaping hole, dragging me down. I clawed at the floor, desperate to escape. His eyes bore into mine. A single thought flashed through my mind: I am not ready. You cannot stay, he said, his voice now booming, resonating through my bones. I warned you because the line between the living and the dead is thinner than you believe. I was falling, dragged into the mist. I could feel the cold wrapping around me like chains. The last thing I saw before darkness consumed me was his face. Watching, waiting, calm, hollow. The room was empty again. The storm outside had stopped. Raindrops trickled down the windows slowly. Yet I knew he had been there. I knew the line had been crossed. And I knew he would come back. Days passed after that night. The memory of him haunted me constantly. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind, made me jump. Yet life seemed to settle around me, as if the world itself ignored the impossible. One evening, I returned home to find a small envelope slipped under my door. No stamp, no handwriting, just my name. Inside was a single piece of paper. It read, "You have seen what you needed to see. Remember, not all doors are meant to be opened." The handwriting was unmistakable. It was his. A shiver ran down my spine. I looked around the room, expecting him to appear again. But the shadows were still, the air calm. I realized then that his visit was not meant to terrify me, but to warn me. Life is fragile, and death is patient. Some things are meant to be understood, not resisted. From that night on, I lived differently. Every knock on the door, every strange shadow, I met with caution. And every time the wind howled through the streets, I remembered the man who came back from the dead. I never saw him again. Yet sometimes, when the night is still and the air is heavy, I swear I feel his presence watching over me. A reminder that some mysteries are meant to linger. And some warnings are too important to ignore. I closed the door slowly. And for the first time, I felt a strange calm. The storm had passed, but its echoes remained. And I knew that whatever had come, it had done so for a reason. The house was quiet now. The shadows harmless. I turned on the light and sat by the window, listening to the rain, feeling the world move forward, while keeping a part of that night forever with me.